You know, I've always wondered what it would be like to walk on water. I remember growing up an hour away from the beach. We would always go there whenever we had time on weekends, and it's some of my fondest memories. My whole life, I feel like, has been tied to the water somehow. Even after we moved away from the beach, we were never too far from it. Our neighborhoods always had a community pool that we could go to. Whenever we went on vacation, there was always a hotel with a hot tub, and I never had a swimsuit too far from me, just in case. Maybe it was my fascination with water as a kid, or maybe it was growing up in the church. I always heard these magnificent stories about a man who could walk on water, and I wondered if I could do that too. But I'm not Jesus, and this story is not about him. I wanted to know what the sea would feel like on my feet. What would the sensation be? Would the water be solid, or would I be weightless? I wanted to know what it would be like to stand in the open ocean with nothing but the sea and the sky. But I grew up. Years passed and I forgot about my fascination with water. I had tried. I really did try to see if I could walk on it, but it never really worked out for me. Shocker. But, you gotta try. I haven't thought about this question in years, but recently I came across this game that made me think about it. I was just scrolling through the discount Nintendo game store on my Switch one night, like I do, and I found Wavetale. Super interesting game. I was hooked right after I saw the opening video, the little trailer. The music, the gameplay, the story, it all was captivating. So I just had to play that game. And this video is about that game. It's about Wavetale. So hopefully you'll come along for this ride with me. I I loved the game so much that I stayed up the same night that I bought it until like 2 or 3 a.m. playing the entire thing. And I wanted to be able to share some of that with you, whoever you may be. But I highly recommend playing the game yourself. It's really, truly an experience. I don't want to just summarize the game. I want to try and add something to it, even if it's just my perspective. So if you want to experience the game yourself, try and figure out some things on your own, what you think the story is about. I highly recommend it. Great game. Only takes about like 5 to 6 hours to play. But yeah, my take, I'm going to try and introduce intersectionality throughout the story. I feel like it's a really important aspect of the story, and I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on that. If you don't know about intersectionality, it's this coined term by Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989, I believe. She is a Black feminist thinker and came up with the whole concept of intersectionality. She's often not quoted for this concept or credited for it, so I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. It was Kimberly Crenshaw. She's great. Intersectionality is not a concept that I usually hear people talking about either, maybe because of its ties to Black feminism, but it is really interesting. It's kind of basic, but it's important to say it and lay it out in words. It's essentially just the way of thinking that takes into consideration a person's identity when discussing how they are treated and how they perceive the world. The most common example that I see given, and one that really resonates with me as a way of understanding it, is Black women in the workplace, particularly in America. They're listen, DEI, I don't know. There used to be some laws in place, ones that required some level of diversity within the workplace. Particularly, you had to have like a certain amount of Black people versus a certain amount of white people. Like you had to have some kind of diversity. You couldn't just hire people, you couldn't just turn people down for jobs based on their race. or their identity, stuff like that. So there are laws to protect Black people generally and laws to protect women in the workplace, but a lot of employers, they'll just hire Black men and white women, which is leaving out a space for Black women in the workforce that is not accounted for. That is intersectionality, the way that a Black woman's identity, who she is, it all comes together and creates a compounded experience of oppression. Essentially. Pretty basic. I recommend doing some reading on the topic, or even Kimberly Crenshaw did a TED Talk on intersectionality. Highly recommended. Once again, she's great. So check it out. Speaking of intersectionality, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I don't know if you can tell or not, maybe. I am a woman. I also am non-binary, assigned female at birth. I lean a certain way politically, and you may already be able to tell, but by the end of the video, you will be able to tell. So putting that out there as well. I'm American. That's important too. This is all from a super Americanized perspective. So take that with a grain of salt, I suppose. Ooh, Western idealism. Yeah, anyway. From here on out, I will be talking heavily in detail about Wavetale, and whatever happens in the game. So if you do want to check it out, highly recommend it before continuing, because I will be spoiling this thing. I will. Can't, sorry.